You're listening to the Business and Life Podcast, where 7 days a week, proven entrepreneurs share their success stories, failures, and give you true value on how you can build a great business and an awesome life. With your host, Mike Olivas.
Okay, welcome to the show, David Nurse.
Thank you.
Yeah, man, it's great to have you.
Much for having me, man. Really appreciate it.
Absolutely, man. I'm glad to have you. I love what you're doing. It's really unique. I'm a big hoop fan, so I'm stoked to kind of jump into it and dive into what you do. So, with that question, tell our listeners a little bit about something interesting about you, about yourself, David Nurse.
So, I would say I'm very blessed to be able to do what I do, and from a young age, my goal was to always play in the NBA. Like everything that I did was catered around how I can make myself better to prepare for the NBA. And growing up in the middle of nowhere, Iowa, and ended up only hitting about 6'1", 6'2", not athletic, couldn't dunk. So, those goals didn't really wind up, but I didn't know that. So all I did, literally still, I would just pour everything into playing in the NBA. And then one day I wake up and I'm 24 years old and I'm playing professionally, put those in air quotes, overseas in Spain and in the Basque region of Spain. And these guys that I'm playing with in this league, it's like a third division league, and they're more interested in drinking beer at halftime than they are actually playing basketball. And here's me just doing every little thing I can to get better, like to improve myself, like the best night's sleep and training super hard. But yet I get cut from this. So basically all my hopes and dreams have been turned upside down, and not just turned upside down, man. They've been rubbed in my face. Like you have
Right.
absolute no chance. And so there I am, 24 years old, nothing, no money in my pocket. I didn't make anything over there. I come back living on my parents' recliner chair in a small town in Missouri, and really with no direction, absolute no direction. And the thing that really changed it for me, and what I speak a lot about and what I teach people a lot about, is being able to look at things from a slightly different perspective, is what I call mindset pivots. And I had to make one that day. My mom actually, like she would always be talking about all these life things, and I just kind of like, how moms are, and I just let it go. But she said one that stuck with me that day. She was doing the dishes. I can remember very vividly. And she said, David, when one door closes, 4 open. And I was like, you know what? That might be true. So I thought about it, and I realized, like, it hit me that day, like 5 months of living on my recliner chair, feeling bad for myself, that, man, everything that I did to make myself better, my mind, my body, everything, was not for me to play in the NBA, but it was for me to coach NBA players, to teach NBA players, to pour everything that I learned into others. And being able to make that, like, that was my mindset pivot, looking at something from a different perspective. And from there on out, then it was, bam, there was my new goal. There was my new dream, to coach in the NBA. So I was on an absolute mission to do that. And just to continue the story, I packed up some basketballs, actually had some basketballs made from China that I had to drive 28 hours out to Oakland in my small little 94 Mustang car that was about to break down, packed all these balls from China into my car, and just started driving around the country, through the Midwest, doing any kind of basketball camp that I could do, sleeping in my car in Walmart parking lots, just because, like, this was my new drive. I was going to coach. I was going to teach. So whatever I could do to make myself the best shooting coach and development coach that I could be, that's what I was going to do. So, I mean, that was the interesting thing about me. That is where I made my change of my mindset. And I think we all go through those times and where we're stuck in a situation, and it's just how we look at that situation that really defines everything.
That is really interesting. I think I love, to hear that you took a dream of playing in the NBA, playing basketball, and realizing that, hey, listen, I can pivot. I can mindset pivot. I mean, pun intended, maybe, right? I can mindset pivot into a new angle of still having the love for the game, still being involved with the game, right? And not necessarily maybe shooting, but taking other cool shots when it comes to business and creating something out of that. And tell me a little bit, and tell the listeners a little bit about what you created. Tell a little bit about what is NBA life optimization.
Yeah. So all those little things that I pour into myself and learning about how to make myself the best, I decided to do that for an NBA player. And eventually through doing these camps and just being able to get working out NBA players. And I mean, it's an absolute like long-term thing. It happened overnight. One of my favorite quotes is, "It takes 10 years to become an overnight success." Like,
me too.
There's
Me
absolute
too, by the way.
grind put in. If you want to wake up today and be an NBA coach, it's not going to happen. But loving that journey and loving that process never made it feel like work. So through all that I've learned in those times, and I got to coach with the Brooklyn Nets, probably when I was too young at 27, when I wasn't really ready for it, when as ready as I should have been, that opportunity was given. But you learn as you go. But mainly what I do for NBA players is I dive deep in making them the best that they can be both on court and off court. So if you look at it's a test tube that you fill up to 100%. Like they play 82 games, they're traveling a lot. They got a lot of wear and tear on their body, a lot of wear and tear on their mind too. So I try to be able to fill them up in every single way to 100% on a nightly basis. And it really, really varies. So it's basically, I meet each player where they're at and customize something in depth for them on, first we'll start obviously with their skill set. What are their skill sets? How are we going to optimize their skill set on court through what they're doing in the flow of the game? Like nothing outside what the team tells them to do. But I want them ultimately to be the most confident in their success as they can be. These guys are extremely talented, these NBA players. They're there for a reason. But it's a lot of what I do is building their confidence in their skill set. So they go out there every night thinking that they are the best player on the floor. And that's done through a lot of different mindset development, and we can dive much deeper into that too as well.
Sure.
But that's where the core starts. The absolute.
Is a lot of it. Sorry, David, to tell you out there. Is a lot of it the fundamentals? And we talk about. I love sport analogies to business. By the way, you get it because you're a sports guy.
Yeah.
I was a sports guy. I played some college football, and I realized that when it all came down to it, like that mindset, I see a lot of that with people that I work with, people that I hire. I love it. And so when it comes down to the angle of understanding the fundamentals, do you feel that's a big part of what you teach?
Yes, absolutely. Like the mindset is the basis, what I call the blueprint for everything. Just like you're building a house, you can't start with everything else on top and the interior home decorating without carving and digging deep in that blueprint. And that is what the mindset is. With a mindset that is resilient, and I call it relentless consistency in your mindset, like every day, you're going to show up the same way. You're going to approach the day the same way. You're going to prepare. You're going to have your habits that we build. And the mindset builds everything. Without it, you're just a roller coaster. You're going up and down. For example, for my players, we don't even track makes or misses. It doesn't matter if they miss a shot. It's all based on them taking their high level shots, knowing that they've practiced that thousands of times, and being completely confident in knowing that if they miss 5, the next 5 are going in. Yeah. And it's a lot easier said than done, but it's also just like, it's divorcing the mind from failure. It's divorcing the mind from worrying if you're going to miss shots, worrying if you're going to get pulled. Because those times that you're worried about the end result in anything in life. If you're worried about the end result, it's not going to end up as good as you want it to be. But when you can just free your mind in what I call getting my players into the swag zone, when you can free your mind and get into that swag zone or flow state, whatever you want to call it, that's when you perform at your best. Not when you really are pressing and trying way too hard, but when you're in your natural state of mind, when you're in your natural flow state.
Awesome. I love the swag zone, by the way. That's pretty sweet. I might take that from you for a little while.
Take it, man.
Yeah, I'm taking it. I'm spread it here in Puerto Rico. They'll love it. So you said divorce yourself from failure, right? Like that's awesome. Like that's, the business concepts, that really tie into the entrepreneurial journeys are really big in terms of how that has probably affected your life moving forward on, listen, you've practiced, you've went to a pro team. How is that resonating with you, David, in terms of how you built this company? Was the concept just like, I can help other people? How did you come up with it? That's my main question.
Yeah, you know what? It all stems from, so when I coached with the Brooklyn Nets, I was 27 years old. Like I said, probably way too young for that opportunity that was handed to me. And I didn't realize it at the time. But they brought in a whole new staff after the year that I was there. And when I was there, I realized like I really get a joy and a passion of helping others succeed in their passion. And that's when I started going into, okay, I'm going to work with players on an individual basis, NBA players on an individual basis, but not just for their skill set alone, but for their whole mindset development. Because you can be really great at a crossover or really great at a 3-point shot, but if you don't have it all based on your mindset, your approach, just your perspective in life, like it's not going to be fulfilling. And I wanted to see these players and who have become some of my best friends be absolutely fulfilled. And also to that point, like these guys have such a big platform to use to spread to others, to spread joy, encouragement to others. Like I knew if I could work in them in that way, that they'd be able to develop everyone else around them too. So to your point on failure, like that's a huge thing. And I always look at every situation differently than the world perceives it. I'm a big believer, if the world's going one way, you should run as fast as you can the other way. And that's what my book Pivot and Go is about. Like it's generally like just based in perspective shifts or mindset pivots is what I call it. That's and being able to look at something from a slightly different perspective that can change your entire perspective on your outlook in life. Like I don't look at failure as failure. If I feel bad about myself of failing, like then I'm going to be stuck in that situation. But the more failures that I have, and what I teach the NBA players, the more failures that you have, those are just more learning opportunities for you to grow. And like it's just a perspective shift in failures. If I would have looked at failing with the Brooklyn Nets and getting fired from coaching with the Nets, I thought I'd achieved my dream, making it to the NBA coaching at 27. Like it's unheard of. And if I would have looked at that and thought, woe is me, it's over for me, I would never have been able to do what I do now, training over 100 NBA players as a mindset development coach. I would have never met my wife here in LA. I would never been able to write my book or go speak. Like all these things are unbelievable that I love doing. But if I would have been continued to coach with the Nets, like it would never happen. So it's just looking at that failure from a different perspective.
Life Nation, we're all striving towards different goals. Maybe your goal is to finally quit the 8 to 5 grind, quit your job, or take the next step with your existing business. Whatever the goal may be, regardless of your reasons, if you are serious about taking the next step and finally trying to build the life that you deserve, the life that you want to live, take the leap of faith. Go to michaellevis.com and let's discuss your goals and life. It's 100% free. There's no obligation. It's MIKEOLIVAS.com. Schedule a quick call. I'd love to help. I think that you have a really cool, I think this breaks down to a lot of we talk about on the show a lot, riches are in the niches and not just money, right? It's just a lot of the abundance of knowing what your niche is. You've carved out your niche as something that you've done for pretty much most of your life, as far as you can remember, right? It's been basketball. Yeah. And so know it, you get basketball, but understanding that there's an angle of, these guys have so much pressure on them. Yeah. And they do. And so they feel the pressure. But like you mentioned, if you're worried only about, for example, if you're worried about that crossover and crossing that guy over, and you're also now worried about the next step versus getting into that swag zone or flow state, right? That's when you're jamming, right? That's when you just feel comfortable with it. And when you get to that level of comfort, you're in good shape, but you got to become uncomfortable to get comfortable. And most of these guys, I'm sure you work with, are a little bit uncomfortable, and they have the skill set. or else they wouldn't be there, right? The skill set's there. It's like,
No
listen,
doubt.
let's make your skill set flow. Let's create the swag zone around your skill set, which again, I think that's awesome. Tell me a little bit of why you think, you've had a business, an entrepreneur journey here. Why do you think some entrepreneurs out there, just in general, why do you think they give up?
Oh yeah, for sure. That's a great question, man. Because they don't see the fruits of their labor. I mean, you put in so much work as an entrepreneur that you might fail and fail and fail. And everybody innately wants something to happen quicker than it actually should. And I'm a big believer on that. The timing for the exact right thing will happen. It'll happen, but it's not going to happen on the time we expect it to happen. So a lot of people will get down that it's not like they're not at where they think they should be, or they look at somebody else in the comparison game and they see somebody else doing better than them and they get distraught from it. Like everything, this is what I teach NBA players too, and any CEOs that I work with. Everything is a preparation for an opportunity to come. And you have to look at those daily grinds where you might think you're failing, you might think you're swinging and missing, as a preparation for an opportunity to come. And your opportunity will come. It's just going to be determined, are you actually prepared for it? And you put in those hours, like I said, the relentless consistency is one of my favorite terms. It's day after day after day. And entrepreneurs will give up because they don't fully enjoy the process. If you don't fully enjoy what the daily grind, if you don't enjoy that, like you're not going to make it. Like for me, building what I built, I enjoyed throwing basketballs in my car, sleeping in Walmart parking lots in freezing cold Decembers in Iowa, and going running a camp for a 7th grade girls basketball team. I just loved it. Like I love building. I love building it. I love seeing joy in people's. Nothing like ever felt it was a job for me, or it was work. So I think entrepreneurial people will fail because they don't hit what they set as their targets. They see others doing it. But that's another point too. Like if you see somebody that gets something really, really fast, or rises to fame, or rises their company sells really fast, and they didn't put in the back end work, it's going to burn out at some point. Right. It was like my example of coaching with the Brooklyn Nets at 27. Like I was given that opportunity way before I was ready for it. So if you don't put in these hours, you don't put in this years to become an overnight success, you're never gonna be fully ready for sustainability on the long term. It's, for an example for you, my uncle's the head coach of the Toronto Raptors, and they just won the NBA championship last year. Yeah. And it was his first year as a head coach in the NBA, and everybody looks at it like, oh man, wow, first year head coach, unbelievable. He just struck gold there. No, he's been coaching for 26 years and overseas in England where nobody cares about basketball, in the G League, like literally everywhere you could imagine, just absolutely grinding and honing his craft to the point where he got his opportunity after 26 years. Yep. And he was ready for it.
That's a great point. I think that's an awesome.
He could have given up. There were so many times. Yeah.
That's a great point. You said he was coaching for 26 years, gets that opportunity, and here's what the public eye sees. Oh, he's so lucky. He gets his first step, right? And he's so lucky. No, like that skill set was built out of 26 years, turned into grabbing that talent and bringing it together and winning a championship that they absolutely deserve, by the way. I watched those games. It's amazing. And so, well, props to your uncle, by the way. That's amazing. So what about the patience aspect? I mean, you mentioned that a lot. Patience is tough. Mm-hmm. Like I do some coaching of a lot of entrepreneurs, some startups, and a lot of it comes down to, like, you're right. They want it yesterday. And I struggled with that too. I still sometimes have to be like, I want it yesterday. Now I'm in Puerto Rico where I have to wait. It's island time times 5, right? And I love everything here, but I love it because it's teaching me patience. It might be forcing it down my throat a little bit, but at the end of the day, it's a good thing because I need to have that more, realizing that slow and steady wins the race. And you got to really try to enjoy, if you can find a way to enjoy the journey rather than the outcome, right? Enjoying the journey rather than the outcome, because the outcome is going to come. And really, it's hard to say this to some people that are stressing out about things, but like, if you just could say, just stick with it, I promise you, like that really holds a lot of water. If you just stick with it, I promise you it's going to be good. If you don't, you don't have the stomach for it, like you got to find it, right? And everybody does. You just got to find that angle. And usually it's because you got to find something that you love. We talked about the initial question. Why do you think they give up? And you mentioned like they don't see the ROI fast enough, right? Or they don't see something like, come to fruition immediately. So I think that's a really good point. But the patience aspect and understanding the mindset kind of comes into that too, because there's a great book, you may have read it, called As a Man Thinketh. And a lot of it is just like, life's what you think about. No one knows what's in your head but you, right? So if you can focus on that, shift that mindset and become positive, find an outlet, whether it's meditation, whether it's the gym, rate the serotonin level somehow, jump up and down for 10 minutes, who cares? Find an angle, right? That's going to help you get out of that. So that's a great point. So tell me a little bit about, David, what you're excited about right now within your company, within your life.
So what I'm really excited about is the book that I just wrote called Pivot and Go. And that sounds crazy to be a coach to an author and a speaker, but what it really juices me up more than seeing my players score a bunch of points or get an all-star game or a big contract is being able to help everyone out there find joy in their own life, find confidence in their own life, and be able to redefine terms that the world sees one way and to be able to look at it from a different perspective, like I was telling you about. So that's the most exciting part of my life right now. Like I'm really big on speaking things into existence and making them happen, like being able to make these pivots in your life. Like, and for me, I turned down MBA coaching jobs this past off season to be able to really focus on the book and be able to focus on speaking. I feel like God has given me a gift and an ability to encourage others and help others be the best version of themselves that they can be. So I guess, the most exciting thing for me is for everyone out there listening, if you're at a point in your life where you think that things might not get better, or you feel like you're stuck in a situation, or you just generally don't have like ultimate joy in your life, this book shows you how to look at basically every situation you could be in from a slightly different perspective. And when you do, it shifts your whole perspective on your life. So I'm really excited about it. I know everybody says they're excited about their own book because it's their own book, but ultimately I don't care how many copies it sells. I just want people to be able to share the same type of joy that I get to wake up with every single morning. And yeah, man, that's I'm super juiced up about it.
That's awesome. I think it'll sell great for the exact reason what you said right now, David, is because you're not doing it for the money. You're doing it for the reason behind it. And the why is like, listen, if it can impact people's lives, you write it, you think about that while you're writing it. And that's a big angle. I'm in the process of writing a book too. And I learned that from a couple of really successful people that have written books that have gone far. And it wasn't about let me just get a book out there. Let me get some good content that has great value bombs in it. And I hope it does great. Tell me a little bit about where can people find this book? It's called Pivot and Go. And where can they find it right now, David?
They can find it on Amazon right now. It's on pre-sale. By the time this comes out, it'll be on pre-sale on Amazon. So that's the best place to find it. But kudos to you for writing a book as well, and not worrying about just getting it out there too. Because if you want to make money writing a book, you should write a book. That's just the general rule.
That's right.
But
where can people?
I wrote it because I know I have something to share, and I know you wrote yours because you have something to share.
That's right. No, absolutely. There's a message behind it that resonates, that what you feel and what can impact, like truly impact people. Yeah, you're gonna win. Where can people find you, David? Like in terms of social media, if they have questions about your book and.
For sure. So I do a lot on Instagram at David Nurse 5, the number 5. And basically it's a lot of following my life, inspirational, motivational things that I do myself with NBA players. That's the main way to find it. David Nurse NBA on Twitter. And then anywhere that someone's giving a talk or a speech, I might be running around there too. And if anybody needs anybody to come in and pump them up and motivate them, let me know.
There you go, guys. If you guys need a little pump up in your university, your classroom, you name it, when it comes, or to your company sometimes, right? someone like David can come in and really do that, and hopefully can just really help you pivot and go in terms of the mindset goes. I love that you turned down, by the way, and it sounds crazy because that was your dream to be within the NBA world, but you probably realize like, listen, I'm good. I'm in the NBA world. And I think you, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you probably had maybe a realization, David, that I can either be something to a lot of people or really have an impact on a smaller amount of people, because you can have a smaller impact. When you're face to face with somebody like you and I in this conversation right now, it's so much more impactful. And if you're watching us on video or just listening to on the podcast, like we're doing a video podcast, we're going to upload those too. It's just seeing like the face to face and that relationship angle of understanding that you can help impact someone's life that's in the NBA and move forward. Was that a piece of why you felt like, listen, I'm good. I got 100+ people that I'm working with day to day, and I got a true relationship with them.
Yeah, absolutely. I felt that like my long-term goal is not just to help NBA players and not just to win basketball games and coach X's and O's. It's really to empower the person and the human being themselves. And so I have faced, I mean, it's a tough decision to turn down an NBA job because everybody on the outside is looking like, oh man, it's the NBA. And I've been there before, and I knew that like I'd be able to have a path to potentially become an NBA head coach, which is amazing. But just looking at it long term and the impact that I can have on other people is, I mean, so much more, I think, valuable just being able to be the person behind the scenes for these NBA players, but also being out there and encouraging people in every walk of life. So, I mean, as tough as it was, man, is this like sometimes the best things you can do are say no to the good. Because the enemy, another quote that I love, the enemy of great is not bad. The enemy of great is good. And don't ever settle.
That's right. Good to Great. That's another great book.
But there you go. Yeah, it is.
That's right. It talks a lot about that as well. So business and life, I say business and life nation sometimes. People that are listening maybe, I want to start a company. I want to create something, or I'm smarter than my boss. I can figure this out and do it on my own and find a different niche out of it, right? We all thought that at some point. But it's also about creating the life you want to live. And I'm a big fan of that. How are you currently, you feel like you're planning to build that? What's the light at the end of the tunnel for David Nurse? Is it, hey, I just want to keep impacting and keep seeing where this goes? What does that end of the tunnel look for you?
Yeah, another great question. And I don't think there is a light at the end of the tunnel for me.
Okay.
If I can impact one person's life, I've made a difference. I've left a legacy. I don't think of anything in the world's terms of success or for that matter for legacy. Like I absolutely wake up every single day excited to attack the day because I know that I can have an impact, and not an impact so I can be that. Like, look at me, I have this many followers, or I gave this many talks, or my book sold this many things. Like, for the biggest joy, and I know it's sometimes like it can sound cheesy when people say this, but the biggest joy for me is to see other do stuff.
Yeah. When
you've had like the best conversations with people, or the people that you've worked with, when you see them, a light switch on them and be like, man, I'm going to go do this. It's so much more powerful than seeing yourself reach another accolade, because there's only going to be a ring to the ladder that you can climb. And there's always going to be somebody in your field that is higher than you. I mean, it's like comparison and entitlement are just the absolute thieves in the night that will rob our joy for tomorrow. It's just how it is. So once we can realize that everything that we're doing is for a reason and a purpose to be able to empower others for their passion, like it takes a lot of pressure off you too, man. It just makes it fun, So I think the light at the end of the tunnel for me is always going to keep going and going and going. Because I just there's never any point that I'll be like, yeah, now I made it. Like I enjoy the process of I just enjoy the process of doing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I guess that journey is a lot of fun, and learning how to do it better. And you start, a lot of people think they have this business idea. I had the same thing in my companies and realized you start pivoting on so many different angles. Right. Yeah, and I'm not just using that word because it's the name of your pivot and goes the name of your book, but I'm just really, it's true. It's like you pivot to realizing that you're going to grow within your business, and your business will grow and it'll change. So whatever your end goal was might not even be close to that. at the end of the day, because you start realizing what is out there, where the market is, and what you truly like to do and enjoy to do. And, out of all of your, I always ask this question prior to jumping off here is, out of all of your successes and failures in your business, David, what is the one piece of parting advice you'd give to the Business and Life Nation out there listening to us today? Like, what is the one piece that you feel like if you're starting a company or you want to start a company, this is the advice for them?
Man, that's a great question too. And really it's just consistency. I use the term relentless consistency. If you have something that you believe in, if you have something that you love doing, do it day after day. Take small steps. With my NBA players, I call it the 1%er. I give them t-shirts that say the 1%er, meaning that they're just going to take 1% steps daily, one after the next, to get to the point that they're at. So it's really in the consistency. Anybody that I've seen that has been successful long-term, whether it's business, whether it's sports, just pours into the consistency of it. And there's no, everybody wants that quick fix to have it happen, but you got to realize if you get that magic pill, if you get that quick fix, it's not going to last, and you weren't ready for it on that time. So believe that there is an absolute perfect time that it will happen. Not on the timing that you expect it will happen, but when it turns out, it'll be on a timing much, much better than you expect. So I guess to wrap it up, it would be the relentless consistency in the daily process, and realizing that everything that you do is a preparation for an opportunity to come. So if you can keep that mindset and knowing that it's going to come and you're going to be ready and you're enjoying that relentless consistency, it'll happen.
Boom. Value bombs there right there.
Happen.
It'll happen. Consistency. Stick to it. Believe in yourself. David, I know you're a busy man. I really thank you for jumping on the show today.
Dude, thank you so much.
Yeah,
thank you for what you do to people. You're in the same mindset that I am. Just talking to you gives me you ooze positivity and joy out of you. I'm looking at you here in the Zoom conversation. You're just all smiles. Thank
buddy.
you for what you do, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. We're making the world and some people a better place, podcast by podcast. And you also have a podcast that you're working on, right, David?
Yeah. The 1%er podcast with David Nurse. So it's a lot of it's based on optimizing NBA players, but through the funnel of how everybody can take what they do and incorporate it into their own life.
Awesome. Well, hey, thanks again, guys. Go and get the book. Amazon will be there soon. It is called Pivot and Go. David, you're the man. Thank you so much.
Man.
Life Nation, you got to remember that in order for things to change, you must change. And in order for things to get better, you must get better. You just got better by hanging out with me, Michael Leibus, and the Business and Life Nation. So come back tomorrow because I'm here dropping sound bombs 7 days a week, baby. If you'd like to subscribe, please do, so you can take action and execute. See you tomorrow.